I don't know where else to post this. I feel like I'm losing my mind and I need help. I really, really need help. My name is Leonora and I'm, or I guess I was, an outdoor streamer. 2 days ago, I did a solo trek through the Wailing Widow Woods. And yes, I know the name is cliché, and I chose it specifically for the spooky vibes to get more viewers, so please, just save the lectures on that. I get it, it was a stupid, reckless thing to do for clicks. The stream was going fine, I was about 5 hours in, getting tired, and I stumbled upon this decrepit old cabin that wasn't on any of my maps. Perfect content, right? I was about to go inside, I had my hand on the doorknob, my heart pounding for the camera. I glanced down at my phone to read the chat, and that's when I saw it. A highlighted message from one of my regulars, a guy named Jace. All it said was, "Leo, stop, didn't you see the two sets of footprints behind you?" I can't explain what that did to me. It wasn't like a jump scare, it was a cold, heavy dread that just sank straight through my bones. I turned around, my camera light cutting through the dusk, and I saw them. My own deep tracks in the damp soil and snow patches, and right beside them another set. Following me, almost perfectly in step with mine, I screamed. I dropped half my gear and I just ran. The stream died in a blur of shaking trees and my own ragged breathing. I've linked the VOD at the bottom of this post. I can't watch it again alone, I need other people to see it. Please tell me what you see, tell me I'm just crazy. I need to start from the beginning just to get it all straight in my head. The day started out so normal. I remember checking my gear for the stream, making sure the battery packs were fully charged, the signal booster was working. I was feeling good, you know. Confident, I was Leo the Explorer, my online persona. My voice was probably a bit too loud in the quiet of the morning as I greeted my first viewers. Guys, wish me luck, I'm going in. If I'm not back by sunrise, send a search party, or at least a meme in my honor. The chat loved it, that's the job, right? Keep the energy up, keep them entertained. For the first couple of hours, it was just a hike, a beautiful, quiet, slightly eerie hike. I was pointing out different types of trees, showing off my new compass, reading donations out loud. Thanks for the 10 bucks, Wanderer42. No, I haven't been eaten by a bear. Yet, the camera becomes a sort of shield. You're so focused on the little screen, on the stream of comments, that you forget to properly look at the world around you. But the world starts to push back eventually. The sun started to dip behind the dense canopy and the light got weird, casting these long, distorted shadows. The birds went quiet. That's the thing about deep woods nobody tells you. The silence isn't peaceful, it's heavy, it's watchful, and that's when the feeling started. It began as a little tickle on the back of my neck, that classic feeling of being watched. I laughed it off for the stream, ooh, the ghosts are here, but it didn't go away. It grew into this weight, this constant, pressing awareness that I wasn't alone. I kept turning around, expecting to see a deer or a fox, but there was nothing, just trees. So many goddamn trees standing like silent sentinels. Looking back at the VOD now, my god, the clues were everywhere. I was just too blind, too busy performing to see them. At around the 2-hour mark, the camera pans down for a second, and you can clearly see a freshly snapped twig on the path. It was bright white against the dark earth, recently broken. I know for a fact I didn't step on it. My path was a few inches to the left. My brain just filed it away as unimportant. Then, maybe 30 minutes later, I paused to drink some water. If you turn the volume way up, you can hear it. It's faint, but it's there. A soft clink like metal on metal from somewhere deep in the woods to my right. At the time, I probably just thought it was a squirrel or the wind. Now thinking about it, it sounds like a buckle or maybe a canteen lid. Something someone was carrying, someone who was trying to be quiet. The whole time, I kept smiling and talking to my phone, but inside, a little alarm bell had started to ring. Faintly at first, but it was there. I was performing bravery while every primal instinct in my body was telling me to run. Hours bled into one another. The forest got thicker, darker, and a damp chill began to seep through my jacket. The trail I had been following pretty much disappeared, forcing me to rely on my compass and the GPS on my phone, which was starting to get spotty. The cheerful Leo the Explorer persona was getting harder to maintain. My jokes were falling flat, my breathing was getting heavier, and the chat started noticing. "You okay, Leo? You seem spooked." "Maybe turn back," I kept reassuring them I was fine, just tired, but I wasn't. The feeling of being watched had now morphed into a certainty. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig sounded intentional. It felt like I was being herded, pushed in a direction I hadn't chosen. I remember thinking how stupid that sounded. Herded by what? The wind, but the feeling persisted. That's when I saw it. Through a thicket of thorny bushes, a shape that didn't belong, a straight line in a world of crooked branches. It was the roof of a cabin. I felt a surge of adrenaline, a mix of sheer terror and professional excitement. This was it. This was the kind of discovery that makes a stream go viral. Guys, you are not going to believe this, I whispered into the mic, my voice genuinely trembling this time. I pushed through the last of the undergrowth, getting scratched up by the branches, and there it was. It was a complete wreck. The wood was gray and rotting, half the roof had caved in, and the windows were just jagged black holes like empty eye sockets. A thick layer of moss coated everything, making it look like it was being slowly swallowed by the forest. It looked ancient, forgotten. But the path leading to it, I realized, was slightly more trodden down than the surrounding woods. Someone had been here maybe recently. I walked slowly towards it, the camera held out in front of me like a shield. The chat was going crazy. Don't go in, this is how horror movies start. Dude, free real estate. As I got closer, maybe 20 feet away, I heard it. And I know the chat heard it too, because the comments instantly shifted from jokes to pure panic. It was a sound from inside the cabin. A low, rhythmic scraping, scrape, scrape, scrape. It was a dry, awful sound, like fingernails dragging across an old, splintered wooden floor. And underneath that, something else. A faint, muffled sound, like someone trying to cry without making any noise. A choked, desperate whimper that seemed to be wrenched from the deepest part of their soul. My blood ran cold, but the streamer in me, that stupid, ambitious part of my brain, took over. I have to go in, I said, my voice barely a whisper. I have to see what's in there. I crept up to the door, my heart hammering against my ribs so hard I thought the mic would pick it up. My hand, shaking, reached for the rusted iron handle. My fingers were numb with cold and fear as they closed around the handle. It was gritty with rust. All my focus was on that door, on the horrifying sounds coming from behind it. The stream, the viewers, my own safety, it all just faded into this singular, terrifying purpose. I had to know for the content, for myself. I planted my feet, took a deep breath, and was about to pull the door open. But I'm a creature of habit. Even in that moment of pure terror, muscle memory kicked in. I glanced down at my phone, mounted on my rig, just to see the chat's reaction. My eyes scanned the waterfall of panicked emojis and all caps screaming, and then I saw it. One comment, highlighted by a donation, sitting starkly in the middle of the chaos. It was from Jace. It wasn't panicked, it was urgent. Leo, stop, replay your last 20 seconds. You didn't see the two sets of footprints behind you. The words didn't compute at first. Footprints, what was he talking about? I was so fixated on the cabin, on the sounds, that the ground beneath my feet was just ground. But Jace was smart, he was methodical. He wouldn't say something like that as a joke. My brain went completely blank. The scraping from the cabin, the whimpering, it all became a distant hum. The only thing that mattered was that sentence. I slowly, mechanically turned around. I angled my camera's powerful LED light downwards, and my world just fell apart. The ground was a mixture of damp earth and patches of old, melting snow. And on it, clear as day, were my tracks, the deep, defined tread of my hiking boots, and right next to them another set of footprints. They were from a different kind of shoe, flatter, more worn down. They weren't walking beside me, they were shadowing me. Every single step I had taken for God knows how long this other person had taken too, their foot landing just inches from mine. They were so close, their presence so complete that I hadn't heard a thing. A scream tore out of my throat, raw and animalistic. It wasn't for the camera, it was for me, I didn't think. I just reacted. I ripped the heavy pack off my back, letting it thud to the ground. I abandoned everything, my supplies, my expensive equipment, and I ran. I just ran blindly back the way I came, crashing through the undergrowth, the darkness swallowing me whole. The last thing the stream recorded was the wild, chaotic motion of the forest floor and the sound of my own ragged, terrified sobs. Edit 1, okay, wow, first of all, thank you, I didn't expect this kind of response. The sheer volume of messages and comments, it's overwhelming, but in a good way. I'm home now. I'm safe. I basically ran until my lungs felt like they were on fire and I stumbled out onto a service road. I must have looked like a monster covered in mud and scratches, sobbing uncontrollably. A truck driver, a saint of a man named Gary, stopped for me. He probably thought I was insane, but he drove me to the nearest town, no questions asked, and I got a friend to pick me up. I've spent the last 24 hours locked in my apartment, going over the VOD with Jace and a few other people from my community on a private Discord call. It's been horrifying, we've confirmed it. The second set of footprints starts appearing in the stream at exactly 1:47 and 12 seconds, an hour and 47 minutes in. For over 3 hours, someone was walking right behind me, just out of the camera's main focus. Watching me, the precision of it is what's making me sick. He was matching my pace so perfectly, so silently. But that's not the worst part. Some of you guys are incredible, you have eagle eyes. A user named Pixel Peeker pointed out a timestamp. 3:21 and 5 seconds. I was doing a close-up shot of some weird-looking fungus on a tree, talking absolute nonsense to fill the silence. For just a split second, as I move the camera away from the tree, you can see something in the background between two thick oaks. It's blurry out of focus, but it's undeniably a human silhouette. A tall, thin figure just standing there, watching. We found more. At 2:54 and 16 seconds, I was filming a stream, and for a fraction of a second, reflected in the water, you can see two figures. Me and another one standing further back. At 4:10 and 3 seconds, I crouched down to tie my boot and the camera angle tilted up. Deep in the background, almost lost in the shadows, you can see a pale face peeking from behind a tree. All of them happening when my attention was completely fixed on the phone in my hand. He was there the whole time, he was always there. Update 2, it gets weirder. Jace, the guy who first spotted the footprints, God bless him, is an amateur audio engineer in his spare time. He told me he couldn't get the sounds from the cabin out of his head. He said the audio profile felt wrong for a simple haunting. He asked for the raw video file. He spent all of last night isolating the audio from the moment I was standing in front of the door, right before I ran. He filtered out my breathing, the wind, and the electronic hum from my gear. He sent me the cleaned up audio file this morning. I had to listen to it 3 times before my brain could even process what I was hearing, and each time felt like a fresh bucket of ice water on my soul. It wasn't supernatural, it wasn't a ghost. The scraping sound, Jace ran it through some analysis software. It's the distinct, unmistakable sound of a radio tuner being manually turned across frequencies, accompanied by a massive amount of static. It's an old-school analog sound. Someone was desperately, methodically trying to find a signal in a place where there was none. Scrape, scrape, scrape wasn't fingernails. It was the sound of a dial being turned, stopped, turned again, the sound of hopeless searching, and the whimpering, oh God, the whimpering. Once the static was stripped away, it became a clear voice. It was a man, he was crying, yes, but he was also speaking. Over and over again, lost in this loop of grief and desperation, he was saying a name. It sounded like Elias, just that again and again, his voice cracking with a kind of despair I've never heard before. Elias, Elias, can you hear me? Elias, please come in, Elias. It was a call into the void, a prayer sent over a dead airwave. This changes everything. This wasn't a haunting, this was a person. A person in that cabin with an old radio mourning someone named Elias. The ice-cold, primal fear I felt before has turned into something else now, something heavier. I don't know what it is, but it's not just fear anymore. It's a deep, profound sadness. Who is this man who followed me so silently through the woods? And who is Elias, the person he's still trying to reach after all this time? Update 3. The internet is an insane place. After I posted about the audio, the thread just exploded. It was like the entire forum became a single, obsessive detective agency. People started working together, and what they found, it's a lot to take in. Using the VOD, a group of users who are apparently experts in geolocation started triangulating the cabin's position. They used the angle of the sun to determine the time of day, the types of trees to narrow down the specific region of the national forest, and the brief moments my GPS flickered to life to get a rough coordinate. They narrowed it down to a 5-square-mile area. Then another user took those coordinates and started digging through local archives, police reports, old newspapers, town records, anything they could find online. They searched for missing persons cases in that area, and they found one. 5 years ago, a veteran park ranger named Elias Vance went missing in the Wailing Widow Woods during a severe winter storm. He was on a routine patrol and just vanished. They found his Jeep on a service road, but no sign of him. The search parties looked for weeks, but the snow was too deep. They never found his body. He left behind a wife and a younger brother. The article mentioned the brother, a man named Owen, was devastated and had spearheaded a volunteer search effort that continued for months after the official one was called off. Elias, the name from the radio, it all clicked into place in the most horrible way. The person in the woods, the one following me, the one in the cabin, it has to be Owen. He never gave up. For 5 years, he's been going back into those woods, back to that cabin, a secret base of operations, still searching for his brother. He wasn't a monster, he wasn't a ghost. He was just a man trapped in the worst moment of his life. He wasn't stalking me to hurt me. He was probably terrified that I, some loud, clumsy intruder, would discover his sanctuary, or worse, that I was somehow connected to whatever happened to his brother. He was protecting the last piece of hope he had left. Final update, I couldn't just leave it. After everything we figured out, it didn't feel right to just move on and forget about it. I gathered all the information. The geolocation data, the old news articles, the audio file, a detailed summary of what happened. And I sent it all in an anonymous email to the county sheriff's department. I didn't mention the stream, I just said I was a hiker who stumbled upon something that seemed important. They called me back this morning, an officer. He was gentle, professional. He told me they sent a team out to the coordinates we provided. They found the cabin and they found Owen. He was there. He was malnourished, dehydrated, and in a state of severe psychological distress, but he was alive. The officer said the inside of the cabin was heartbreaking. It was covered wall to wall with maps of the forest, all marked with search grids and handwritten notes. There were stacks of Elias' old case files, weather reports from the week he disappeared. And in the corner on a small table was an old shortwave radio, powered by a car battery, tuned to the ranger's emergency frequency. Owen had been living out there on and off for 5 years, still searching. He's in the hospital now, getting the physical and mental health care he so desperately needs. They said when they found him, he was just holding his brother's worn-out ranger hat, rocking back and forth. I've been sitting here for hours, I don't even know what to feel. I went into those woods looking for a cheap thrill, for content, for internet points. I wanted to exploit a local ghost story for my own gain, but I didn't find a ghost. I stumbled into a real person's tragedy. A story of love and loss and a grief so profound it literally drove a man to disappear from the world. I'm logging off. I'm done with streaming for a long, long time, maybe forever. There are some things that shouldn't be turned into content. Some woods are haunted not by spirits but by the living. And I feel nothing but shame for having treated that man's pain as my playground.